Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're decoding a really fascinating and, pretty complex document, the Harmonic Densities. It's basically a codex that claims to map the very geometry of consciousness itself.
So, let me ask you this. What if you had a map that didn't show, land or sea, but instead showed different levels of awareness? A map that could take you from a single, tiny point of existence all the way up to the fabric of reality itself. Well, that is exactly what this codex tries to do.
And what's the name for this incredible map of consciousness? The source calls it the Psochic Hegemony. You can think of it as a journey through different states of being, or densities. And this entire journey is governed by two fundamental forces. So, what are the rules of the road on this journey? It's really about two key things. First, you've got to decrease what the codex calls moral strain. Think of that as the internal friction or resistance we have to what is. And second, you have to expand your scope, basically your field of awareness. So in short, the goal is to become way less resistant and way more aware.
All right, let's start our journey at the very beginning, right at the center of the map, with the birth of individual awareness. Now, these first three densities are absolutely crucial because they lay the foundation for everything that comes next. The whole trip starts right here, in the first density, which the codex calls the singularity of will.
The codex actually calls this the Nihilistic Singularity. It's a state of just pure existence. There's no relationship to anything else. Just imagine a point of consciousness that only knows that it is. That's it.
And wow, this image just brilliantly illustrates that idea, right? It's like a mathematical starting point, minus infinity plus 1. This is the moment something emerges from absolutely nothing, the fundamental cost of being. Okay, so from that single point, where do we go? Well, we move into the second density, and this is where things start to get a little more familiar. It's the awakening of relation.
And this is a huge step. For the very first time, consciousness starts to see an other. And this creates all the first big divides, me versus you, safe versus unsafe. It's a really simple survival-based awareness, and it forms what's called a conscious shell to sort of define itself in the world.
Now this brings us to a really pivotal moment in the journey, the third density, the realm of the choice. And this is supposedly where most of humanity is operating right now. So, in this state of full self-awareness, consciousness has to make a fundamental choice, a fork in the road. Is it going to contract inward, focusing on service to self, or is it going to expand outward, focusing on service to others? This single choice apparently determines the entire rest of the journey.
What's really fascinating here is how the law of one material, which the source references, frames this choice. It's not some intellectual exercise where you have all the facts. It is, and I quote, a leap of faith you have to make without knowing the ultimate outcome. Okay, so once that big choice is made, consciousness starts to expand its scope way beyond the individual. And this is where things get really interesting, because this next phase is all about how we relate to the group as we move into the fourth and fifth densities.
So welcome to the fourth density, which the codex labels the tribal harmonic.
Here, your definition of self starts to expand. It includes your chosen group, your family, your country, your cause. This creates a super powerful sense of us, but of course it also defines a them. Love and understanding are definitely there, but they're conditional, They're bounded by the tribe.
But the journey doesn't stop with the tribe. It keeps expanding, pushing even further into the fifth density, the Universal Harmonic.
And boom, this is where the game completely changes. The conflict between us and them totally dissolves, because the very concept of an other just vanishes. The self is now understood to be inseparable from everyone and everything in the entire universe.
And this isn't just some philosophical idea about karma, like what goes around comes around. No, the Codex describes it as a mechanical understanding. Any action you take inside a unified system has direct, unavoidable effects on all the other parts of that system, including you.
All right, you might want to buckle up because now we're reaching the most abstract and powerful stages of the journey. In these final densities, the traveler doesn't just walk the path. They begin to understand the map itself.
And this is the sixth density, the architect's view.
This is a massive shift. Think of it like this. You go from being a player in the game to understanding the physics of the game board itself. You're not just reacting anymore. You're seeing the patterns, the causes and effects, the very mechanics of how consciousness works. Next up, in the seventh density,
the master of extremes. Consciousness starts to explore the very boundaries of experience itself.
By understanding the absolute limits, I'm talking from the deepest, darkest rage to that perfect click of insight you see here. Consciousness learns to hold the entire container of reality. It gets the boundary conditions that define what it means to exist.
And finally, we arrive at the destination, the eighth density, the infinite logos.
This is it, the ultimate stage. The traveler moves beyond the map completely. They are no longer just navigating reality, they become a co-creator of reality itself.
And so the journey comes full circle. We're back where we started, but with this profound transformation. That initial point of will is now applied to infinite potential, but this time with zero resistance. The cycle completes, and the traveler becomes the architect, ready to begin a whole new cycle of existence.
So what this codex ultimately gives us is this incredible framework for awareness. Now, whether you see it as a metaphor or a literal map of consciousness, it presents a fascinating model for growth, and it leaves us with one final, pretty provocative question. If this is the map, where are you on the journey?